What was a hardship you endured when first creating digital media content?
I wouldn't say I had any hardships. I think the hardest thing for most people is putting themselves out there for sort of the world to see and criticize and pull apart, and that's not really a problem for me.
How long does each video usually take to create?
Um, a typical episode takes like from top to bottom 12 hours, and that's like research, setting up the equipment, filming it. It goes into post, which is actually the longest aspect of it. Editing takes forever, and then uploading it, pushing it out to social media, all that. Like when you take all that into account, it's roughly 12 hours. It's 60 to 70% like scripted, and then maybe 30% sort of improv, depending on the day. Some days it's like I go completely off script and it just works.
Do you solely come up with the ideas for your videos, or is there collaboration involved?
Ideas for videos. I have people who write with me depending on the project and depending on the time period. Because with Equals 3, I used to do it all myself. And then when I wanted to save time, I asked my friend, I asked Rob to step in and sort of bounce ideas off of me. And then now I have other people in. And it makes things easier. And personally, I like working in groups. I like the camaraderie of coming up with something together, or coming up with one-liners together and really hashing it out. And I don't know, it's like fun for me. It's a social thing for me.
How long did it take to gain an online following?
It was a slow process. I didn't like wake up one day with millions of views. Like it was like the first month I had 30 people watching me, and the next month I had 100, and the next month I had 500, and then 1,000, and then 5,000, and then 20,000, and then 50, and then 100, and then 300, and then and that took like maybe 2 years overall to get up to like I'd say a million or two per episode, right? So if you think 2 years is a long time to build up a following, like because 2 years is quite a while in terms of just solid time. But when you think about, how long, say, an actress like Jennifer Lawrence has been acting, she's probably been acting for, and she's not that old, she's probably been acting for almost a decade, right? So in compared to that, 2 years is nothing.
Is digital media your career, or do you have other aspirations?
I don't think of my career in terms of sort of the the medium aspect. Like I would be, like I'm a performer, an entertainer, and producer, and I would be happy doing that for the digital medium. I'd be happy doing that for theater if it came to it, or television, or whatever. I really just like entertaining people. So it's difficult for me to predict the future and say like, well, in 10 years everything will be digital, so why even work on television or whatever. So in that regard, digital media probably is my future, in that it's every entertainer's future.
Have you ever had any trouble coming up with ideas? How have you overcome these obstacles?
Here's what I do. I always juggle like several projects at one time. And so if you get writer's block, which happens to everyone in entertainment, so if you get writer's block on one project, you move to the next one. And then once you get writer's block on that, you move to the next one. And you can do this all day. You just keep rotating.
Who or what influenced you to get started in creating online content?
It's a hard question to answer because no one was really doing it. Maybe 4 or 5 people total were doing it like when I started. So it's hard to say who. I mean, there are entertainers who have influenced me. Mostly stand-up comedians. Like, growing up, I was a big fan of Eddie Murphy and Dave Chappelle and these entertainers who really like, who they just kind of got up on stage and did it themselves, right? They didn't have a full production behind them or anything. It was just them and the audience, and I really loved that. And they were also really, excuse me, they were really edgy, and they pushed boundaries and everything. And I think in a lot of ways, not that I'm comparing myself to these legends or anything like that, but in a lot of ways, that's what I was emulating when I first decided to put myself out there. When I first discovered YouTube is because I was looking up like archived footage of political campaigns, presidential campaigns, old, outdated ones, famous ones like I Like Ike and like A Bear in the Woods, these like really famous presidential campaign ads. And so I was looking for things like that, and then I noticed these video blog, these people just video blogging. They would just film themselves talking, and I would, and none of them are even around anymore. But I would watch them, and I'd be like, I could do that. That looks fun.
Any advice for anyone who wants to gain an online following through digital content?
Make what you like to make what you're comfortable making, and then let the audience find you, and connect with you. Like, don't force it or anything like that, and don't set out doing what you think people might like, or do what you think might make you a whole bunch of money or whatever, because I see that over and over, and people just, I don't know, it's kind of setting yourself up for not failure but disappointment in the whole thing. And I would say, if you have the drive to put yourself on camera, then put yourself on camera and do what you like to do and keep working hard at it if that's what you want.